Hello, my name is Danny Cook, and welcome to another episode, the Coaches Club podcast, brought to you by halftimecuppa.com. We're back, and we're back at it again with another coaching journey, and I'm really honoured and privileged to be joined by a really good friend and a great coach of mine, Rob Amanze. Rob, how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you, Danny. How are you today?
Yeah, not bad, thank you. Yeah, you've been up to much?
In these quarantine times, a lot of listening to podcasts, ironically, and just, I guess resting and enjoying the weather. We have a garden at the house, so it's been in the garden for a bit. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, not an awful lot. I'm trying to keep myself busy, coaching wise. It's hard
Excellent.
when it's hard when you're not having any sessions and you can't go out and deliver anything. So, myself, obviously Harry, and a couple others, we're putting stuff together, but it just doesn't feel the same as going out and delivering a session. Yeah, I miss football. I miss football an
You,
awful
you,
lot.
you can do the Mourinho. You can have a secret session with some of your players at the local park, so no one catches you. But I'm not endorsing that, by the way. I'm not just putting it out
Yeah,
there.
yeah, not on this this incredibly popular podcast, this world known podcast. Anyway, yeah, Rob, let's crack straight into it. Let's talk about your coaching story. You're a coach that I had, as I said, the pleasure to work with, and someone I got to know really, really well. So I think you've got a great story, and I think people listening in would like to hear it as well. So let's start from the very, very beginning, Rob. What I'll rephrase that. How did you get into coaching?
Um, I think first of all, thank you for that intro. It's very kind of you to kind of, I guess, say that something that people will be interested in. To be honest with you, until you proposed doing this podcast, I never really thought about my football journey. I listened to the brilliant one you did with Mo a couple of weeks ago, which was really well done. And his is so varied. You got so many different clubs, and really from a young age to where he is now. He's 29 now, reaching 30. He's a teenager. My story, or I guess my journey, is a bit of a different one to that, because I guess I'm maybe offering hope, I think, or maybe belief to those who are late developers, because I didn't even get into coaching until the age of 30. So for me, I didn't do the proverbial route of leaving college or sixth form or uni and getting involved in it. It was more a case of the crossroads in my life, I would say. Needed to do something different, was happy in my job, wanted to challenge myself and take on a new skill. It was either teaching or coaching. And teaching was far too much hard work. I had to do PGCE and loads of studying. And I thought, let me see the coaching route. I wanted to train myself, obviously, but wasn't really sure what it would lead to. So did my level one. Obviously, that's we start off with, really. And then kind of volunteered my time after that with working with schools.
Yeah. So did you do your level one before you even sort of made contact with any clubs? You just wanted to get the qualification?
Exactly. So I kind of thought it's very like a linear process where you get level one and then that's like a stamp. It's almost to say, yeah, I'm not qualified. It technically isn't. You can do it without a level one, but there's no harm in going through the traditional route and obviously, acquiring skills and improving your knowledge base. So yeah, and a friend of mine at the time was working as a TA, teacher assistant within a school in the Wembley area, primary school. Byron Court, a shout out, because that's a school and they helped me out a lot. And I volunteered my time. As you can imagine, with the education sector, they're quite short on staff and resources. So to have someone who's been DBS checked and is keen to volunteer their time to basically do the after schools club, which is what they had space for, was really good for them. And it was very good for me as well, because it gave me a bit of a grounding pool on for an hour and a half of working with 8-9-year-olds, boys and girls, and just doing various sports from tennis and baseball and rounders to football as well. So that was my kind of first real touch of how coaching works.
Oh wow! So you got a chance to do other sports as well as football. That's incredible.
Yeah, which was helpful.
Yeah. Slightly off topic, but which one of those did you enjoy the most?
I thought was the one that I kind of went there to do. But I think the athletics part of it, because it's very simple, you put up some hurdles and you get like a race for it with high hurdles. There's like a long jump there. The school's really with a sandpit. It's all set up. But you have to like mini Olympics really. So
Oh,
I was
brilliant.
doing that like twice or 3 times a week, working with the kids and doing that, and that was fun because it's completely different to what I thought I'd be doing, but still quite engaging and still quite a difficult area because obviously different skill levels and everything else. So that was quite fun, the athletics bit.
Oh, fantastic. And I guess jumping back a little bit here, you're so obviously you came into coaching, as you say, quite late, but did you have any sort of playing experience in your younger days?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's a long time ago. Thanks, Danny.
Sorry, didn't quite mean it like that. That was badly phrased. Sorry, Rob. Carry on.
My pages. So yeah, I guess yeah, that's a good question actually because I guess that stayed in my mind because I also came through the system per se. I was someone who was playing youth football from the age of about 11 to about 15 or 16 with various different teams. And I really enjoyed it. But this is very much in the day where it was once a week, a Saturday morning, you have a game on a Sunday, train for an hour, and that was it. You didn't really have much connection with your coach or with your teammates. This is before social media or kids having mobile phones when they were young, so it was quite abstract, really. But that was my first, I guess, taste of youth football and grassroots, and that was certainly what was a trigger for me to get back into it at an older age.
Oh, that's interesting. Did anything or any coaches you worked with at the time sort of inspire you to want to come back later and coach?
Mm, I won't say specifically, no, no. I mean, I enjoyed that period of time of my life, and it was very fun. I think when you're young, as you obviously you go through system as well, I know, and anyone listening who is a coach, it's very enjoyable to play at that age group and to be part of a team and a group. But I had so many different coaches, to be honest with you. I think that there were so many different ones during the season that I couldn't really say there was like a mentor at that age or I had or a role model. Really, I got into it more because I spoke to friends at the time who were within sport and they said to me that it might be suitable for you. That was more the trigger, really.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, so let's go back to the point where you left us at, which was the primary school or the school you was helping out with all the sports. What's your next step from there?
Yeah, so this is kind of like a bit of a sliding doors moment because I don't think I'll be with you right now having this chat on the phone or working with Kendra Football Club is where I ended up if I didn't kind of speak to certain people. So long story short, um, I was unsure what to do next because I was volunteered for like a bit of a summer, like for like June really, as the school was finishing up before some holidays. I was kind of looking to get into sports development and coaching and to work at grassroots. So I spoke to a friend in the previous job in the charity sector who knew an SDO, a sports development officer somewhere, and said, like, can I get some advice, please? And I mentioned over the phone to him that, I've been working with a school at Wembley Park, attempting to make myself seem viable to take on really. I brought like a phone interview. And he said, I know someone called Juliano who's based in Wembley Park who's got a club called Kindra. And that was the first kind of message I had with someone. He gave me Yule's number. I messaged Yule. Yule invited me down to Kindra. And the rest is history, really. Like, if I didn't speak to that person at that particular time, I could be at any different club right now. But that first call I made was to that friend to put me through to Yule. And yeah, that's how I got connected with Kindra.
Wow, we're certainly very lucky to have you here. That's for certain.
Oh,
Um,
very kind of you, Danny.
no, not a problem. So you got in contact with Yul, who obviously for those listening in, he was the same gentleman that came up in most coaching stories
Yeah.
as well. So there's a lot of crossover, but that's great. I think we can kind of see the direction we're all going in as a collective. So yeah, so you met with Yul, and then what happened from there?
Yeah, so that was really tense for me. I was so nervous because I'd done my level one, I'd done a bit of coaching within like a school environment, but I was very raw, so I had no real kind of knowledge of how the system works within a club. Even though I'd been in it as a teenager, as you spoke about earlier, I didn't know how to do it as a coach. So I met with you, had a chat with him, and he just said to me, Rob, there's a session going on, I think, tomorrow or in a couple of days' time. A couple of coaches there that will talk to you. Go down, see if you like it, and go from there. And anyone who has met Giuliano, he's quite a big presence. So I immediately felt very comfortable in that presence with him. He's very enthusiastic and very passionate and was a really good chairman. So I kind of thought, okay, let me go down and see what happens and then go from there. And then I went down and watched a session, got to talk to a couple of coaches, and then got a really good vibe, I think, from those first couple of minutes talking to them. There's a real energy and buzz there, and everyone was quite supportive of the players. I thought, wow, this club feels really, really good.
And it just sort of blossomed from there then, I guess.
Yeah. So that summer, so like it was pretty much July at this point. So I only did my level 1 like a month before, really. So it's all very quick in my mind, anyway. Yeah. And they during the summer, Ken used to do like a summer school on the variation. And for me, that was just perfect. I was really fortunate to be there at that time because there was like 10, 11, 12, 13, like 15 or 16-year-olds, boys and girls, doing fun sessions basically from like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon to the evening. I was doing like 3 or 4 hours per day, like 3 or 4 times a week. And that was like a really big like learning pool for me to get working with kids, both genders, see the session plan. That's been really like evolved, I think. I got thrown in, I was given so much support, and that was really good for me those first 3 or 4 weeks working there at summer school session.
Yeah, great experience. Great experience. So that must have set you in good stead for when you moved on to, obviously, when you started working with a fixed team. Was that shortly after the summer camp program?
Yeah, pretty much. So the summer camp finished, I guess, like mid-August, and then everyone goes on holidays, etc. And then it got to early September when it came back for the start of the season. At that point, I hadn't really spoken to anyone about what's going to happen next. I was very green, so to speak. I was very new to it all. I just wanted to kind of be a sponge and listen. So it was around about that time, September, we came back, that you all suggested that I work with a guy who I know Mo mentioned, a guy called Saj, who was coaching the under-11 team, I think at the time, under-11 boys team. And he asked if I'd like to assist him or work with him. I thought, yeah, sure, why not? I'll go well with Saj. He's a good guy, Liverpool fan, so I knew straight away that he had sense. And yeah, that was my first real induction of working with a team that season. I was working with under-11 boys.
Oh, fantastic. And I guess that initial few sessions where you're working with Saj, how was that? Was it quite easy and seamless for you both to sort of be on the same page, or was you learning from him? How was that dynamic, you and Saj?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's more the latter. Now I think back to it, I mean, it's almost 7 years ago. Yeah, it's 7 years ago. More the latter. I think I was literally watching, learning, observing. I was very enthusiastic. I think going back then, I really wanted to help and be hands-on, but I realised that he's so experienced at the time, Saj, that I need to kind of sit back and see how he conducts it. Not even necessarily the session plan they delivered, it's the tone of voice, it's the inflection of the voice, it's the calling people in at certain times, give them one-to-ones, it's the break times, it's the timing, it's the holding everyone at court, basically, when he's speaking and getting them engaged. It's the enjoyment. There's so many small little aspects of his coaching style that I thought, okay, I need to remember this and almost copyright it for myself. I think, can I do a version like this, but tweak it when I help out? But yeah, it was very much a hands-off situation. That's what it's going to learn and watch from him and assist where needed.
That's great. I mean, to be able to obviously learn off another coach is really, really beneficial, and certainly something that I did obviously with yourself. So yeah, I can 100% see the benefits of that. I guess in terms of what you picked up from there, obviously stood you in really good stead for when you were further down the line with me. Yeah. So yeah, talk to me about that first season. Then you was with that team.
Oh, gee, I listened to Mo do this earlier. That's his podcast, and I'm gonna do it for me now. That first season, I don't know how, because I know Dan, your coach story, those from Lowestoft, and for a very young age. For me, because I was obviously, I kind of felt as if I was coming in and because of my age, I had maybe life skills I could kind of apply to coaching, and I wanted to help out, but it was really overawed. I was really overawed by it all. And what I mean by that, that's nothing really negative. It was more the fact that I didn't know how kids were like to coach. Like, it's so different. Some of them were really excitable and hyper. Some of them were really quiet and quite withdrawn. Some of them were exceptional at football. Some of them not so much. And I think it was just learning how to deal with all of that. And what I did for that first season is tried to take the majority of the players, and I was, as I mentioned, help out. And then on Saturday mornings, we were in something called the Regent's Park League, which is still going on right now.
Yeah.
For anyone listening, how it works is that on Saturday mornings, age groups are playing against other teams, all on Regent's Park. And I had a 7-side team that I was working with, was basically some of the players that we were working with. So some of them play on Saturday morning, and some of them play on Sunday mornings in our youth league. So that was a really good opportunity for me just to kind of get a bit of a learning experience of just having the team every Saturday morning, same place, same time, lovely routine, 7-a-side, so you can basically work on systems and shape, but it's not too challenging for someone who's new to it like I was. And that was really, really fun. And then on the Sundays, it was very much, back to being the assistant again, learning from Saj, 11-side pitches, big games, tactics, formations, play development, and that was a really fun season because I just learnt so much in the space of like 12 months. It was so good.
So on that Saturday, or on the Saturdays rather, you would be by yourself at Regents?
That's correct. Yeah. So I don't know what the club were thinking at the time because I looked so like out of my depth. I think
I'm so
at the time. No, because I didn't know what I was doing. Like, some was argue I don't know now, but certainly back then I was like, I just kind of wing a little bit. But then you work out if you're a football fan, and as you've mentioned, if you've played your football before yourself, then you know how to talk to players, how to do a team talk. And sometimes you give me little chats on a Friday night, like, go, Rob, maybe work on this, maybe work on that. But yeah, anyone who wants to kind of get into your football, I would definitely suggest any sort of 7-a-side environment, because it's really fun just to work in a small space, a small area, and just let the boys have, or the girls have, so touches as they can, and go with there. But yeah, I was on my own, left to my own devices every Saturday morning for a season.
How was the parents?
I'm laughing because that's probably the biggest challenge, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I'm sure anyone listening who's a coach probably nod their head in agreement to say that. They were difficult. I think some of them were just not particularly fussed because they cared more about the Sunday morning. That was the bigger league, the Harry Youth League. Regent's Park was just more fun to kick about.
Did you get the same? Sorry, did you get the same attitude filter into the boys at all? Like, did you notice any difference between the boys across the 2 days?
That's a great question. This is why you do what you
Sorry.
do. Yeah, I did actually. So some of them, because they didn't play often on Sunday, because their ability level maybe wasn't there, they took Saturdays very seriously. And some of the better ones who were, I guess, forced to play on Saturday because we needed them to play, would just give so much attitude. But that's, for me, it was difficult, obviously, because I didn't know to speak to children or to parents at that stage because I hadn't coached a team before. But I tell you what, it really gave me a strong opportunity to learn and to adjust and to adapt. So it's small little things like, just pulling people to one side and explaining to them what the ethos of the club is and why we do this. It speak to parents one-on-one before the games and after the games and kind of ask for feedback and support. And it was just that kind of engagement that I thought to myself, I didn't really have in me. Once I started doing it, I started thinking, okay, no, I actually sound as if I know what I'm doing here and actually do know what I'm doing. And these players need to kind of listen a little bit more about what I have to give. And parents also need to be supportive for the club. And, slowly you get there. Not everyone's going to be on board with what you want to do. But I think as long as you communicate yourself well enough and you're respectful enough to them, as in players and parents, you usually get a decent response. And we did towards the end, thankfully.
What was the biggest thing that you learned in that first season?
I think commitment. I think the fact that the players saw me every Tuesday and every Friday, I think it was, I coached that time, every Saturday morning, every Sunday morning, that's 4 days a week out of 7, but I was there, and then the players started to make sure that they were there. Obviously, Saj was a big factor in that as well. But I realised that, if you don't do this properly, you don't commit yourself to it, even as a volunteer, you're not going to get anywhere. Children, even age 11, are smart. If they see you being half-hearted, then they'll react that way as well. But I think I slowly won over their trust and their respect towards the end of the season through my commitment to the cause.
That's great points there, and I liked, because actually I was going to throw in a bit of a curveball and try and find out why you think it's important. But I think you've nailed it there in terms of the players also sharing that appreciation and understanding that by seeing you there, your commitment levels obviously top notch as always. But seeing you committed to the team, that they'll feel just as invested into the team as possible. So, okay, moving on then. So that first season, how did things end up and transfer over to the second season?
Okay. So thinking back, I think we finished that season quite well. I think we like second or third in the league, and we had a lot of fun in the Regents Park League. And I think what you all did really, really well, looking back at it, is that you gave me a lot of a chance for my pathway as a coach, really, because you didn't ask me, you'd like to work with a different coach next season, just to give you a bit more of a varied approach to coaching. And Sad was very much like a hands-on, player-to-player, very structured these session plans. And then he thought maybe talking about Mo, who he interviewed a podcast with recently, might be a good person for me to work through with my second season. And Mo and Sad coach very differently. Mo is very technique based, and that was transitional really. I went from a coach who was very much about the group and then about individuals, someone who I felt was very much about the individuals and each player developing, and then in turn developing the team. But that was my second season, working very closely with Mo, who was coaching, I think that was under 11 team again. So I had 2 years working with under 11 team basically.
Yeah. Did they do the same thing? Did they have a team in Regents, or was it just Harrow Youth League that year? Do you remember?
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame. I'm laughing because I gave it such a big praise a minute ago, Harry, say the Regents Park League, but the feeling within the club was that it was very much very poorly run. Sometimes you get there and teams might forfeit, but you wouldn't know until you arrived. Hard to find where the pitches are going to be playing that particular day. And I think the issue of have that level, and coaches listening will probably appreciate this, is that when it's 7-a-side or 5-a-side, because some of them were 5-a-side as well for the younger age groups, there'll be 1 or 2 players who are really, really good, and then there are 3 or 4 who aren't. And there's 2 players who you just run the game by running from one end of the pitch to the other and scoring. So what usually happen is that there'll be a feeling of not really much player development there, because it wouldn't be about it wouldn't be about the passing or the movement of the ball or shape or teamwork. It'd just be like give it to the big kid and he'll run through and score. So I think the club made a pretty much decision around about that time to kind of pull out of the Regents Park League, which was a shame because it's where I cut my teeth as a coach. But I can understand the decision why they did that. So yeah, that went by season 2 when I was at the club.
Okay, so you're now fully focused on Harrow Youth League with Mo, who obviously is a coach that I've worked with as well, and I think you're definitely right. You've hit the nail on the head with the technical focus. I mean, how were those sessions? Because I'm sure they were a lot of fun as well.
Yeah, a lot of fun, but quite intense because Mo was so intelligent that it's like I mean, Sanjay's a great coach, but I think I did a lot more, like I mentioned earlier, watching and observing, and very little coaching that first season, which is fair. But my second season, Mo gave me a lot more responsibility, and I found it quite tricky because it was very technical stuff that I was learning and I was going along. But it was a lot of fun because the players were engaged. It was a high level of quality. Everyone was so respectful and polite. And it was a lovely environment there. A lot of the players were from school that like you know very, very well, and Mo does, and the club does, which is member school in London, ASL. A lot of the players were from that particular school in the club. So there was a bit of a community aspect in that, as the parents of the players all knew each other quite well. And it was a good environment to be working in. Certainly for me, for second season, that felt like a good step. Like it was very different, but also the same. If that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. And how did you keep up then with all the, you said about having to learn things, or I guess on the fly, on the job sort of thing. How did you cope with that? Did you have to do any research outside of your sessions, or?
Yeah. So I would give homework. So you say, like, this is what we're going to work on next week, and this is what I'd like you to do. And he'll give me some coaching points, and then he'll mention on some websites or some links, or he'll be quite creative and say that devise your own. So he kind of give you bullet points like play from the back, we'll keep the 2 touches, we're going to keep it within the perimeter. What do you think we should do? I'll be like, and then I have to sit down and kind of think about it, and then map it out on notepads. That's when I really started making notes myself and putting plans together. That was really that season there. So yeah, that's how I went from learning on the fly to kind of going home and then reading through my notes and thinking, right, if I do that session again, how do I do it differently? Does these be done differently? So can I improve it? Can I tweak it? Can I progress it? Etc. So that was my kind of involvement with Mo in season 2.
Oh, brilliant! So that's where you started to add in that sort of self-reflection.
Exactly. Yes. Very much
Yeah.
so.
What, a lot of people say self-reflection is really important when it comes to coaching. Is that something you agree with, and you've experienced yourself, and you think is beneficial?
Yeah, I do. I think it's because it's easy to sometimes forget sometimes what you do, because especially if you coach him more than twice a week, say 3 times a week, or you've got games on the weekend as well, you sometimes lose track of what you've worked on, what you've done. And I think self-reflection is a really good way to review and take stock of what you've done and what you go to do as well, to plan. And also, I think we have to be honest with ourselves. So we've all done sessions that we know hasn't gone as well as we'd liked it to have gone for various reasons, right?
Yeah.
But it's not so much about being hard on yourself, thinking, oh, that was terrible. It's more about, right, so if that scenario happened again, what can I do to mitigate that? Maybe if it was issue with the size, maybe I should put them in 2 groups rather than one, and then that way, second group can have a smaller size and the other group can have a larger size. Or if it was a session where someone was disruptive, maybe right at the beginning of the session, put the player to one side and have a chat with them, so they think I can get by and not have to speak to them one to one because I'm so busy. Small little things like that, I feel that you can kind of learn about yourself from self-reflection.
Mm. I feel you've nailed it in terms of the focus of that, because I don't know about you. I'm sure other coaches maybe listening in have had this same experience where you'd come away from a session and yeah, it may have been okay, but it doesn't quite sit right.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
just having that reflection could really help. And as you say, and I think is probably the most important bit, is not so much why, as in not so much like beating yourself up over the fact it went wrong, is more focusing on what you would do different next time. I think that's really crucial going forwards. I don't know if that's something that you agree with there, Rob.
completely. Yeah, the words out my mouth there. Exactly. Yeah. We always improve. Strive to be better.
Mm. And moving on from there, then. So ended that second season. How did that look for you?
That was great. I think Mo touched on it earlier. So if someone listens to Mo's podcast already, I might say too much, but I think he finished second in the league that season, which was great. You got a trophy for that, and
Oh,
I'm
wow.
all about even second place to me is achievement in a 10-team league. That's great, and the 12 level. I even got a trophy myself, not a trophy, a little medal at the end of it. That's all I look at every so often. As a coach, you get any of these, do you? Unless you're like a
No.
academy level coach, you get them every season. But that was pretty cool to see that. Like I said, it was such a fun season because a lot of the players who you and I worked with, and we'll come on to that later on, I hope,
Yeah.
we worked together 3 seasons on actually. But a lot of those players are actually in that team with Mo in that second year. So it was almost like I could see the progression there already. I think, wow, these players are really developing. And yeah, we ended the season really well. Got to a semi-final of the cup, I believe, that season as well, went on penalties.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's one of those
Wow.
years
That's
where the boys
incredible.
clicked. Yeah, the boys clicked. We clicked for them. The parents. It's just one of those seasons where everyone was on the real high.
So where do you go from there then? Because I mean, that's, as you say, that everyone's on a real high. What happens next?
I think next is a scary bit for me, but I guess it was the right step to take at that time. So it was my third season. So just to repeat, I started off working assistant to one coach season one, assistant to another coach season two, and then this is where I mean by you'll help me so much with my pathway. He said to me that summer, like, would you like to take over your own team? I was like, yeah, okay then. I was kind of half thinking I'll work with Mo and have a season, work with another coach for a season, but I didn't think I'll have my own team. But when I think back at it now, it made sense, right? You've done 2 years of, I guess, like tutelage, and now you're getting your opportunity to kind of step out on your own. So, yeah, I took an under 13 team with a coach called Craig, who quite new to club that time as well. So part of my job really was to recruit that summer, kind of. So we had like a bit of a weird period from like March, April time when I was not working with Mo as much, and I was kind of half working with Craig to recruit players for our third season. My first season, like his first season at the club. That was what I was doing really. I was doing all the admin stuff at that point, emailing people, calling people, putting lists together of players, writing their names, their positions. We'll make sure we can play. All very exciting really, because you've gone from working with someone and normally taking I guess, advice to actually give an opinion and then saying, yeah, this is what you're going to do, and having a bit more of a voice.
It's exciting, isn't it? It really is.
It is, yeah.
So, in terms of recruiting for that team, how did that go? Did it go well? Did you get numbers in the end?
Yeah, it was good. I think what we were, and I'll be honest with you, it's very much an all-inclusive team, that one. Our main aim as a club, not my aim necessarily, but the club's aim was to give people a chance. Should always be the case, right? There's always be opportunity for players to play football. So as you can imagine, new team. So normally players know each other, and some come from the same school, or they knock about together outside of school from like the same park, for example. But it was various schools all around the Wembley area and some outside of Wembley as well. Different group of parents, all quite new. And it was a case of, just starting from scratch, really, a brand new team. So it's all stuff that I think you have to do with a new team, isn't it, really, about the philosophy, ethos, team bonding, lots of silly games, early season, things like Bulldog, and not even football related, but things that will get you smiling because they're fun to do with a friend.
Yeah.
And that was the real challenge, but the aim for Craig and I was to get a bond with these boys, and hopefully the football and the quality will follow.
And how did it feel working with Craig? So, as I say, you've worked with Mo, you've also worked with Saj. How did it feel working with Craig? Was he a completely different personality to what you'd worked with?
Yeah, very much so. So Craig and I were quite similar. So a lot of coaches, when they get into coaching, particularly at a younger age, it's pretty much a full-time role for them because they're out of college, for example, or that's university, and they want to get involved in coaching. For me, for my journey, I've been with him full time the whole entire way. So rushing back from work in the evenings, do sessions, and I find time that way. And Craig was the same. We're both in our 30s, both similar in the sense of late developers getting into coaching. And I think that helped us because we can kind of bounce off each other, because we both knew that we're doing this purely for passion and purely for the enjoyment. There was nothing else keeping us at Kindred. In fact, we wanted to develop and get these boys to be better. And we both had our own personal issues, as in, how do you fit it in between, a really busy day at work, you get home, you get changed, you're knackered, but it's that motivation to get to the session, deliver it well, and the boys or the girls, whoever you coach, usually pick up your spirits. You forget about a tough day in the office once you're out on the pitch and you're working with great kids. So yeah, I felt a lot of synergy with Craig. I think he had a similar mindset to what we want to do with the team as well.
Having experienced maybe a small snippet, a small insight of that rushing from work to come, well, is it rushing from a hard day at work to go and deliver a coaching session? I have to say, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it sometimes, because it is so difficult, isn't it, to, as you say, go there when you've had a really tough day and almost like leave it at the door, put a different cap on, and bring the energy levels back up again, and
Exactly.
have a good session.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
think the key there is, sorry to interrupt, Danny,
no,
but like
go
you said,
for it.
it's different hats, isn't it? Because I can either be a youth football coach who works in the office, or someone who works in the office who's a youth football coach. No, it's one of the two, really, like, but either or. I think it was that case of, once the job 9 to 5 was done, it's switching off and being fully focused then on giving the best session that you can and putting on that different hat, that jovial, bubbly hat, a bit more fun, a bit more laid back, a bit more mellow, and not so intense to look at spreadsheets for a day.
At that point, was there any sort of clashes? Did you have any clashes or crossovers with work at all?
Yeah, a little bit. I guess like most jobs, there are moments where you finish a bit late and you hope to finish, and you have to also communicate really well with your colleague there, and that's quite important, I think, is let them know as early as possible. I might be a bit late, or I might cancel tonight, and can you run the session yourself? So yeah, fortunately it happened, but not much, thankfully. I had a workplace who knew that coaching was important to me, so I was able to balance it quite well, I think.
Good. So that first season as a lead coach, I guess, how did that go?
Mixed, if I'm being honest. I think because it's so new for a lot of the players who hadn't really played any sort of football before that, this is what I meant by the skill base was completely varied. There's some players who had been at the club on and off who were finally in the team, which is great for them. There's some players who had been in the team called the Bengals team with Saj, who had left that team to come to my team because they were guaranteed more football because the Bengals team was maybe played at a higher level, higher division, for example.
Yeah.
And we had some players who, like I said, literally it's their first opportunity to work in a coached environment. They've been players who played in parks or they're playing the streets with their mates for a couple of years, for their formative years. And it's the first time to work on sessions and drills and understanding the game. So I just imagine with that melting pot of talent at varying levels, some games were great and some games were awful. I'm laughing because it's experience, isn't it? It's the playing, it's the competing, it's the learning, it's the developing. I didn't really think too much that season about results. It was more about who's getting better, who's engaging, who's enjoying it. And if someone's not, can we tailor the session to make it more enjoyable to everyone? Do we have to maybe work with certain players one-on-one a little bit more, etc.? That was it for me that third season.
How difficult was it for you to, as you say, you've touched on a subject that I think a lot of people can resonate with, where you have maybe a group of extremely talented players, and then you've got your players who are maybe just getting into the game. How did you balance that and juggle that up in your coaching sessions?
It's tough. It's really tough. Maybe there is a particular right or wrong way, but how we did it, as in Coach Craig and I, is that I guess we mix them together, but then we'll give individuals different challenges. So in a group, for example, where some of the stronger players were mixed with less ability players, we'll give strong players more responsibility. So maybe they have to lead part of that session, or they only play the ball with their weaker foot, or they have to do a little bit more once they complete the challenge. And for lesser players, we wouldn't necessarily scale it down. But what we'll do with those players is we'll just kind of we got a bit intense for them or a bit fast paced. We'll take them out for a bit, move to a different group, keep it varied. I think that's the best way to do it from my perspective anyway, is give the talented players a little bit more of a challenge, and the lesser players just get them playing and don't make it difficult for them. Let them enjoy the game really, and hopefully they'll start to learn through osmosis and playing around better players as well.
Great. So moving on to that second season as a lead coach, your fourth season now in coaching. How did that plan out for you?
Okay, so this is where this is a film which they should never be commissioned. Autobiography.
Is this where all the money, the value is? Yeah.
Yeah, this is the challenging one. And for anyone listening, if you've had a season as a coach where it's gone a bit wrong, then just hang in there because I did, and there's positive at the end of it. But to answer your question, the second season league coach, I think Craig and I both had this belief, and rightly so, I think at the time, to sort of prove these players as much as we can. So the first season, as I mentioned, transition, getting to know each other, having fun. Who cares about the results? But now they're 13, turning 14. It's getting a bit more competitive. Puberty hits, so some players getting stronger, physically more intelligent. Sorry, physically better, mentally more intelligent. But we thought that can we give them a bit more of a challenge? And what I meant by that is, can we start to maybe have a bit of a trial system in place where players will have to really push for their place in the team, and if they haven't passed the trials, we give them feedback and then give them clubs in the area which they can maybe go to. At the same point, we can bring in players who are new and retest them out and see if they will be part of this team. We basically want to create an environment where the players are not challenging themselves, but also hopefully getting better, because we didn't want it to stagnate after a fun first season, but with a progression. But it was difficult, really, really difficult, because some of the players just didn't adapt well to that change, I think, in the coaching style. As coaches, maybe Craig and I, in reflection, maybe could have done it a bit differently, but I'm not too sure how, because we want to challenge ourselves as coaches and get better. And we still want to just be basically like, babysitting people and then just glorified, just sitting there and watching people play football. We want to kind of test ourselves as coaches and help players. But some of the players that season, for reasons outside of football, I think maybe just changing the attitude and changing their psychology just became really disruptive. And it was a season where I had to do a lot of, I've been too deep soul searching really and find out, is it for me anymore? Do I want to do this? Because you can imagine, you spend 3 or 4 hours a day before going through session plans with your coach. You get there, and then within half an hour, don't want to play football anymore. Just messing around, play fighting, and that was quite a lot. So yeah, that was a really difficult season for me, that 4th season, if I'm being honest.
What did that soul searching look like? Because I mean, sometimes from a personal perspective, I'll look at, I don't know, old team photos, or I'll look at maybe old sessions, or old session plans, and just think back to memories and good memories. What was it for you?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think what Craig and I did, and this is what I mentioned about maybe could have done a bit better, is we thought, okay, let's scale it down a bit. So we went from being quite hard on the boys, really wanted to push them, to okay, let's bring a bit more of the fun back and make it a bit more enjoyable. That helped a little bit. But what I really did to soul search is to be a bit more proactive and do some self-development. So I remember I went on, there was like loads of coaching courses, which I'm sure whichever FA county you're with, you're aware of. Middlesex FA did quite a lot of free ones, which are great. And there was one about managing behaviour within the team. I remember getting one of those courses, for example, and there was little tips, for example, like what used to really wind me up was someone will bounce the ball while I'm talking.
Yeah.
I used to think that's so rude, because I'm talking and I'm giving you instruction, and you're there bouncing the ball. But that behavioural session I went on taught me that that's maybe that child's way of listening to you. They're listening to you and they're engaged, but they need to be doing something where they're listening. That's how they remember. So sometimes I'll let it go, and then sometimes I'll just make the rule of you back the ball if you want, but when I start talking, you put it underneath your foot, and they'll be like, okay. And then I realised that when I said that, they'll stop, they'll listen, and then when I finish, they'll bounce the ball again, and then go and do exactly what I asked them to do. And I thought, oh, so maybe I'd have to be so strict and so stern, and maybe my soul searching is that I was taking the baby a bit too personally. And maybe just boys, because I worked with boys team at the time, just being different at different age groups, really. And you've got to just maybe give them a leeway sometimes, but then know when, at what time to rein it in and be a bit more disciplined. That was a challenge for me.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to the ball bouncing one. I think with a recent sport I've been working with, basketball, and I don't know how people do it. Like, obviously I've come from a football environment outside, but you hear someone bounce a ball, I'm thinking, how on earth can you hear me? You can't hear me.
Exactly.
I could barely hear myself, let alone you hearing me. But yeah, I mean, you've raised a really good point, and especially with the CPDs in the time that we're currently in with the lockdowns and all that. That's something I know a lot of coaches are trying to do, some online CPDs at the moment.
Yeah,
Um,
must recommend that.
so yeah, that sounds like a really good one to do, the behavior management one. Was that an online one or was that workshop?
I'm sure there's online versions, but the one I meant to was a workshop, which I'm a bit old school. I prefer that. I know it's difficult of this current environment because of the lockdown. So I'm sure there are online ones there, but hopefully when the restrictions are lifted and people are able to course again, yeah, we could get some people to go in these workshops, because I think with workshops you always ask questions and talk to your fellow colleagues as well, because they're obviously there for a reason, and share stories a little bit. But yeah, CPD is always important as a coach. It's always looking to learn new skills.
So you're obviously looking at some of the CPD as part of your, I guess, reflection during the season. How did things end up that season? Did you get to where you wanted to get to at the end, or was it still a work in progress?
Still a progress. I would love to sit here and go, yeah, we worked out really, really well, and everyone's positive and in season well, but it didn't really. That team sadly disbanded at the end of that season, for various reasons. Most of it was because a lot of those players were focused more on other things. Really, they're turning 15. You know, other outside activities, socializing with friends, etc. Maybe school. There was mock year 10 in that regard as well, became priority. So in that season, I was really thinking to myself, like, what am I going to stop coaching for a year or a couple of years? Am I going to leave? Am I going to do something else? Because the team I had was gone. Craig that season had also decided to leave. He was going to move to Birmingham. So the guy I worked with for 2 years left as well.
At which point
Um,
was that sort of communicated with you? That, obviously, I assume Craig telling you that he's obviously moving is quite a big, that's a big bombshell to be dropped on you. When was that dropped?
yeah. I think that's pretty much during the summer. He had kind of inferred that he was thinking that way. But it was pretty much around that July time when he said, yeah, I'm definitely going to be leaving. I've got a new job in Birmingham, etc. So I kind of knew at that point, okay, but that's the end of like our relationship as a partnership, which was a shame. But obviously wished him well. But yeah, I think at the time I was a bit unsure what was going to happen next. Really, Yule had just left the club as well, so it felt like a bit of a transition period for the club in general. Because we had a new chairman who's been Prane. We got a new vice chairman around that time, which was Harry. Obviously, two great guys who worked within the club. And I was really unsure that summer what was going to happen next, as in what team we're going to manage and coach. But to be honest with you, I was really feeling quite down at that point about the whole coaching aspect, because it was my fourth year in, and I didn't really feel as if I was progressing as far as I would like to progress from a personal perspective. So yeah, it's a difficult time in general.
And then what happened from there? What was, so you go into, I guess, Prani and Harry have a conversation with you as to what team you work with following that season?
Exactly. So we sat down that summer. I said, thanks for your support with the team that expanded. But yeah, what happens next? And then a certain Danny Cook was mentioned as someone who will want to work with a team. Mo, as he mentioned in his previous podcast, was stepping away from the boys team at that time. So that team was down there as Kinshire Saints. They just gone into the under 15 level at that age group, and didn't really have a lead coach. So the club at the time was really unsure what to do next. And then it was proposed to work with Danny, and I said, yeah, he seems all right. He's a decent coach. I'll give him my time.
Oh, too kind.
We got talking, and then as you know, but obviously this is don't know. We had a productive summer, didn't we? We sat down, we talked about players, the recruitment process, what we're going to play system wise, what our players we want to bring into the club, the attitudes, and then I think I'm not saying this because obviously you're talking to me now, but I think speaking to someone, fresh voice, fresh ears, supportive, it was really helpful for me from a personal perspective, because I thought this is why I'm here, is because I want to work with people who are committed and are positive and want to improve players, improve teams. And then so that fifth season was working with the under 15 boys team.
Oh, thank you. That was really nice. Okay, so this is where it's going to get really interesting because I think we've obviously with my podcast with Mo, a lot of the experience was with a younger age group, and I guess I mean for us it's now quite a long time ago. But I don't know about you, but this season that you're now coming on to feels like only yesterday.
It does to
So
me,
I'm really
yeah. It feels
intrigued. So
recent.
yeah, wow, what a season! Where do we begin with that one, Rob?
Um, from a personal perspective, because obviously we work together, but from a personal perspective, I've got to be honest with you. I believe that sometimes in fate, and I do feel as if the trials and tribulations of that fourth season almost had happened, so I could really appreciate a good team, work with a good coach, and work in a good environment. And I gotta admit that last season was my last season as a coach, but that fifth season was definitely my most enjoyable because I had developed at that point as a coach. I'd had ups and downs, and I really had to push myself. I worked with someone, who was really, as I mentioned, supportive and positive and full of ideas and real enthusiasm. And on top of that, had so many really, really committed, positive players who were so willing to push themselves to the limit to help the team. So that perfect synergy really, everyone was in it together. Parents were involved, they were supportive, players were supportive. And as a coach, it's a bit better than when you have everyone on the same page, working together for the same goal. Because then all you have to do really is just push that train together, and it'll go in its own momentum, really.
Yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned the obviously the attitude of the players was fantastic, but the parents as well. The buy-in we had from that group was something really special, and
It was.
yeah, definitely missed that. But yeah, so let's go to. I can't. We didn't have any friendlies that season, did we? We must have just gone straight into
Not
to
really, no. No. We started this summer a little earlier. Then you were away for a bit because you went back home.
yes,
So I did about 2 sessions like late August,
yeah,
and that was intimidating for me because I knew how good Mo's boys were. And Mo, as I mentioned earlier, is very technically like gifted coach. He gets the best out of people. So part of me was like, they don't really know me that well, and they know me as Rob because I've watched and observed. I never coached them, so that was my opportunity to kind of sell myself to them as a coach, really. And that was good because I had like 3 weeks in the summer of just running sessions, getting to know the boys, building the group together, fun stuff, mixing some technical stuff, within some like really like difficult stuff, challenging stuff as well. And then by the time we came back in September, we were like a week or two before the season started. So
yeah,
most of the boys had been back at that point, training for a little bit. So I felt we were like semi prepared really early that season, which helped as well.
yeah. And I think off the top of my head, the first game we was meant to have, we won't go game by game, but I'm just going to.
Just don't know about podcast for that one, yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole series. That one, it's one podcast a game. But I'm pretty sure the first game we was meant to have was a cup game. And I'm pretty sure that game the other team didn't turn up. And the reason why I remember that is because I was meant to be reffing
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
AFC Wembley, and one of the teams pulled out of that game. And then I hopped on a bus, went straight to the ground. Where were we? We were what? JFS, weren't we? JFS.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
correct.
yeah. And we got there, and the ref turned up. We turned up. No other team. Um, from memory, that was. I mean, unless I'm dreaming it. But that was the start of our cup run.
Yeah, exactly. And the brilliant thing is, we started with a win, Danny. We started with
Yeah.
a win. Clean
Exactly.
sheet, 3 points, which is what happens when you get a forfeit win. So, not good for the boys, really. Jokes aside, because obviously they were very excited about that, the first game of the season. But that was time I cup run that year, exactly.
I think from memory, and correct me if I'm wrong, was that the first game we had Leif down? Or were we still searching for a goalkeeper at that
I
point?
think we'll still search. I think Leif was
We
like
might have been.
a ray of sunshine, like 2 weeks into the season when he just turned up. I went, oh, he's a goalkeeper and he's really good in goal. He's a lovely kid. Yep. he's good for us. So no, that was still the embryonic days of having no goalkeeper but having to rotate, I think, within the team.
Yeah, and as you know, for anyone listening in, as Rob has pretty much described there, um, we started the season without a goalkeeper. I'm pretty sure in that last season, because obviously I took over a bit from Mo in that last season, like previous to us two working together. I'm pretty sure he lost or we lost Reza. At that point, we lost our goalkeeper, so they were rotating players and obviously they were doing their best, and the boys were really really in high spirits. But you could tell they were missing a goalkeeper. So yeah, that's interesting. So I remember. I don't know if you remember. I don't off the top of my head remember the team name, but I do remember the the game we played, the first league game. Um, we played. Oh, it was the opposition coach was, I think, a friend of yours or um,
Yeah,
someone who went to
I
schools.
think it might be Russia Rangers. I think maybe Russia Rangers. I'm not too sure.
It may have been, but I mean, from memory, I believe we won that one, didn't we? I believe
Yeah,
we got
yeah,
off to a good start.
yeah. I can remember very early on. You and I were both quite. Please correct me if I'm wrong. We were both quite pleased because we came in, we had fresh ideas, but the boys took it on straight away, and they were really positive about that as well. And then it's very much one of the scenarios, I think, where we had the ideas, they had the ability, we put both together, and that led to us having, I think quite a strong start to that season. Really, we were challenging for the league very much from the first couple of months.
Yeah, and I guess as we get maybe a few months in, where was the turning point for you? Where did things um,
Well,
change a little?
we lost a few players to other clubs, which happens a lot in youth football. I'm sure you're aware, what is aware. That was a factor. We lost two of our best players. Um, and also, I think, and I'm sure it's all you're alluding to, I think, a big complacency fell in. We had such a good start to the season that I think some players thought we were better than maybe what we were. Typical, I think, of a team that's gone a good run is that, certain players maybe got to switch off. And that was difficult for us to deal with at the time. But yeah, but for me, that was still a positive because that was a challenge for me as a coach from a personal perspective. Because I thought, okay, I've had this before, a team that's on a really run. Like, how do we keep the momentum going, and how do you keep them engaged and challenged? And that was the next step for me as a coach, really, to work on that.
So before we get to because what did we do a social before Christmas off the top of my head, or was it after Christmas
I
from
think the one
memory?
in the new year, I remember, so it was
Maybe
after
New
Christmas.
Year. Okay. So in that first half of the season, was there any standout moments for you?
There's a couple of games. There was a particular game, I think. And this is like any coach had this scenario, I'm sure, grassroots level. You have 12 players who are confirmed, or 13 players confirmed for 11 side match. Great. Got 11, you got your two subs. Brilliant. Ready to go on Sunday. Saturday night, everything's confirmed. You do your team sheet, your notepad, everything's up. You do your whiteboard. Brilliant. You get there Sunday morning, and then people are running late, right? And then you're calling them around, you're texting people, where are you, etc., etc. So I think there was one particular game, it was before Christmas, where we had to start the game with 10 players.
Yeah,
And opposition had
I know
11.
exactly the game. Yeah.
And the opposition were good. So that meant that if one player was down, that gave them a massive advantage. And they took the lead. And they weren't playing particularly well. And I remember two players arrived literally about 10 minutes into the game after they scored. So immediately we went to 11 and we had one sub. And then we came back and won that game. And it wasn't just the fact that we came back and won. It was the fact that we had 10 men, heads went down for a bit. They were struggling. We got a player back into the team. We got working again as a group. And then what happened is that everyone started to push each other even more because we knew we could still win this game. And then to turn it around and win was a very proud moment for me as a coach from a personal perspective, because I think I said in the podcast that we did previously before, the kindly invited me to do, that my biggest kind of hope when I work with the club or a team particularly is that they never give up. there's always that mentality that, even if we lose, we're giving the team that we played against the toughest game of their season. And that was definitely the first time I saw it with that team anyway, that there was a real resilience there. They really battled to get that victory, and I thought, wow, this is a brilliant team. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah. I mean, that for me was probably my second favourite game. You obviously know about the other game, but my second favourite game. And I think you're right. I feel the performances on that day was just incredible. How do you sum that up? Like, how do you sum up that feeling after the game?
Sheer euphoria, Daddy. Literally, I was smiling. And it's crazy because I don't know if those boys even remember that game. I hope they do.
No, they do. They do. I mean, one of them, obviously, he don't score that often, poor Leon. But he started scoring now. He's now turned into a goal scoring machine.
Overlapping fullback, yeah. But that was the first game we saw that, ironically. But we digress.
I mean, that game, he was incredible. But yeah, anyway, let's move on to the social now. So what was the idea behind the social? Why did we do a social?
I think because we enjoyed it so much, weren't we, as coaches? I think because they're getting older, and we can have conversations with them now. It wasn't so much you do this and you do that. It's more of a why are we doing this and what do you think can work. And obviously I can't speak for you, and I'll let you give your opinion in a minute. But for me, it was certainly a case of we wanted to kind of reiterate what we were doing that season and get some positivity, but also as a thank you, really, for such a good start to the season. To just be out of that mindset of not a training pitch, not a football pitch, just sitting down in a restaurant, having a chat, socialising basically, and building a bond.
Yep, bang on with me. Yeah, in terms of, I think it's nice to see people in different environments.
Exactly.
And,
yeah.
Whether that's players that you work with, or whether that's a boss at your workplace, or a family member. Sometimes you need a change of environment, and then you get a whole new experience. And I found it really interesting and really successful, I think. I don't know how you felt coming away from that. I know the boys enjoyed all the desserts and.
Yeah, I don't know. The appetites were a lot more than I thought they would be.
They were surprising, weren't they?
But yeah, I echo your thoughts. It was, like I said, I can only speak about myself really, because I don't want to speak for others. But I'm glad the feedback was positive from the boys. I'm glad you enjoyed it as well. But from a personal perspective, yeah, all I really wanted to do when I got to coaching was to have a team that I can have a bond with, a connection with, and that I knew were happy being part of the club that I work with. So to see them smiling and joking, like you said, outside of the coaching environment was so cool. It was such a lovely moment because they're human beings, they're not footballers. So it's been human with them again.
So following Christmas, we go into a bit of an interesting patch.
Yes, we do.
How would you sum up this patch?
This is, I kind of briefly referenced earlier. This is just slight nonchalance and a bit of blasé attitude started to creep into the team. We knew we were good, and we were good. As certain players who were really, really good within that team, I think it's like bleed around hype a little bit. We had a succession of games really where we're playing against some very average teams. No disrespect to them, but they weren't as good as we were, in my opinion. But we were just finding ways to lose. That's the best way to put it. We were letting teams beat us. And that was frustrating for me as a coach because I wasn't doing my job, I felt, as getting better from that team. On top of that, I don't think the players were giving themselves justice because they were going to games thinking they'd won before they even kicked a ball. Happens in real life, happens in football matches now where teams underestimate the opposition. So I can't criticise them too much for that. But when you spend a whole week working on something because you know that team's going to do it, and then they do it and score from it, and you're never to respond, you're like, well, what's the point really? You're not listening to us anymore. That was tricky for me as a coach. How did you feel all the time?
Frustration, I think sums it up. Like you said, we no disrespect to some of those teams that we played, but we had a more able team, and we would probably play better football at times, but just we would find, as you say, we'd find a way to lose the game. Whether it would be, and I think in some of those, I think at that time we obviously still had Leif, we still had a goalkeeper, but I think we would do stuff defensively that would hinder ourselves. We'd make mistakes when we probably, you're thinking, why on earth are we making these mistakes? However, as I'm sure you can understand, and we as a club, I guess that's the philosophy is players to learn from those mistakes and develop off the back of it. But I don't know. For me, it was frustrating because it was not one game; it was a succession of games where we we would make these mistakes, and we could be really really good for 99% of the game, but that one mistake costs us. And it was so silly. It was so silly. But yeah, I agree with you, and I think it definitely challenged myself and you as coaches, because we had to somehow get these guys out of this mindset. And off the top of my head, I can't. You know what? I cannot remember how we did it. Cannot remember how we did
I'm
it.
sure you do. I mean, my previous discussion about my fourth season, which was a bit of a disappointing one. I couldn't. I couldn't. And the coach I was working with, find a way to address the slide. But on this particular occasion, I think we did. So, for those listening, sometimes I think you have to make bold decisions as a coach. And I'm not saying this is the right way, but it certainly worked on this occasion. We dropped basically our two best players.
Yes.
They ironically were the ones who were making. So they were attackers. So you quite rightly mentioned that we're making defensive mistakes, which can happen at youth football. That's fine. But what I was annoyed with, actually, I didn't mention this earlier, was that in the second third we were so blasé. We weren't running, we weren't shooting, we weren't passing, we weren't working together as a team. We were being selfish and very very indulgent. So what we did, and I'm sure coaches this in general, was we had to think of a way to kind of make us a stand. So we gave players who were working hard in training, but maybe weren't as gifted as the other players, a chance to shine. And we basically said to those players who weren't performing, who were so talented, take a step back. And we didn't tell them in advance. We didn't brief them. We literally did a team sheet, did a team talk, and said, you two, three are on the bench, and these guys are starting. And you heard audible kind of like gasp. I don't know if you remember it within the group, like, what? And it went very quiet for a sudden. And you and I was like, okay, that's fine, we'll carry on, we'll start. And then we started the game, and then we said to those who were on the bench, do you know why you're on the bench? And you know what? They knew it. We hadn't said a word to them beforehand, but they said, yeah, we haven't been playing well enough recently. So, that's my point as a coach. Their players aren't stupid. They know when they haven't given you 100%. But sometimes you need to maybe, be a bit firmer at a time, and say to them, okay, we're not going to play there. As simple as that. Even though you're so gifted and talented, and we really need you, you're not going to play because you don't do as much as a player next to you who's giving you everything, and he's maybe not as gifted as you are. But I know I'm going to get a performance out of him. I'm not so sure about what I'm going to get out of you. But the positive is that led to us playing against the best team in our league, who are undefeated. We had our best players on the bench. Madness from the coaches. What are they doing? We go 1-0 down. Exactly. Parents sign banners against us and petitions. We go 1-0 down, I think.
Yeah.
We equalise.
Yeah.
We bring on our two best players.
Just hang on, sorry. Just to add a bit of context to the.
Sorry, I'm getting carried away here.
Yeah. Go on. What happened? Who scored that goal? That 1-1. Do you remember?
Okay. Was it the Java goal? Was that the 1-1 goal or not?
No. So.
Was it Nash's header? Was it?
No. I forgot about Nash's header. No. So this one, and this is where I love this game. I really do love this game. I think this is one of my favourite games. And I think as coaches, we played that perfectly. That was our perfect game.
Yeah. I took pride in that.
There's one player you forgot who scored that equalising goal, and we started ahead of Java and Anashi, and that was a new signing.
Broke
the record
yeah.
books. So
Yeah, yes, yeah.
before we
Sorry.
get back into that game, talk to us about that signing, that masterstroke signing you pulled off.
So this feels like a bit of a self-indulgent period now, because all we're going to do is praise ourselves. But
Well, I mean,
uh,
this was something special. This was something special.
okay, I'm with tease you a bit here. I know you're the anchor of this,
No, do it.
episode. I know HTC, but I think your player ID is a bit off at times, Danny. I've got to admit, as a great coach you are. So anyone listening, there's a tall, about 6'2", 6'3", 15-year-old boy called Gab, who was so humble and sweet and a very kind kid. He came to trial with us, and he had trialed a week before I had seen him. So I must have been like maybe busy, unfortunately, in 1 week, and I didn't have a chance to see him. So I said to Danny, "Oh, who's this new kid called Gab? He's huge." He goes, "Oh yeah, he plays as a centre back with CDM for his team. I think he could be quite a good defender for us." I'm like, okay, cool. And then we split a drill together, didn't we? And I think you did a drill, and I did a drill, and mine was more attacking based. I had Gab in my group, and it was a very simple drill. I fed the ball someone's feet, they'll spin, turn, beat a cone, and shoot. And he was beating this cone within 2 touches, and putting in top corner, bottom corner every single time. And then I started putting cones in the corners to hit, and bibs in top corners to hit. And everyone was missing these cones, and because they're quite hard to hit, right? Big goal, sorry, small goal even. And he's hitting every single time. And I said to myself, this guy's a striker. He's a natural finisher. Wow. I guess to give a modern day example of a bit of a Harry Kane, or as you call him, Gabby Kane. So I said to Danny at the end of the session, like, he just me, how's Gab? I meant, he's a really good striker, I think you should put him up front. And he went, right, okay then, which is why I love working with you. You're always open to suggestions. And then, yes, you're right, he scored in his debut. So there we go. That's hard work between me and you. Player ID there. We found the player, found the role. And then the fruition is he scores his debut within like 10 minutes. Brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, it was a free kick as well. So Harry Kane-esque, that.
Yeah, top corner.
Yeah.
Well remembered, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm saying this game was easily one of my most favourite games, because of all the context, all the stuff that sort of built up towards that game. I think, obviously you identifying Gab as a striker was a master stroke. He was clearly he was just practicing his clearances. That's all it was. He wasn't shooting.
Something like that.
So anyway,
looking at something, sorry, because I don't want to digress too much. I don't want to be too long a podcast. The drama of that game is that our goalkeeper, Leif, who mentioned earlier, who's been brilliant so far that season, really lovely kid, really good goalkeeper, good athlete. He gets injured halfway through that game. So it was quite a bad hip injury, sadly. So he has to go off. And then we put our striker, who we just mentioned that week, who scored in his debut. We put him in goal, and he's an amazing goal as well. So it's like if there's Hollywood film or grassroots football, I want that match to be at least in the reference notes of what a team can do. So yeah, just mad, absolutely mad.
Utter madness, that game. Utter madness. Because when Gab scored that goal, do you remember we turned to Java and Anashi, who obviously were dropped because of, as Rob discussed at the start, the form and the attitude and application. And we do you remember what we said when we turned to him?
Yeah, like that's a competition basically.
Yeah,
it was there.
Yeah, they were like, nah, no competition.
And then I mean, the next bit's a storybook, but I swear to you, like, Dave's testament to this. He was there. It actually happened. We brought on Al Nashi and Java, and she scores a header to make it 2-1, which is he's about 5'5". They make it 2-2. And then Java, who was our best striker really at that time, scores one of the best goals I've ever seen in youth football. I can't describe it. I'll let you describe that, Danny. But he scores a wonder goal, and we win 3-2 against the best team in the league who are unbeaten. Absolutely emotional scenes. Really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, it's so difficult to put words that even give Java's goal value, really. It was probably just in the opposition's half. I think it was on a counter. He's volleyed it, and it's I don't know. It's just flown in. It's just flown in.
Yeah, but the bit before that, as we're going to add it, is that he flicks over someone's head.
Yeah.
Then it bounces, and like you already said, for half time, he volleys it to the top corner. Yeah, but that's why we're in it, right? Jokes aside, they were laughing a lot and having a trip to memory lane here, but that's why we're in coaching, right? And that's why I felt like my journey comes to that point as a coach where like, wow, this is really like this is 5 years ago. This is why I want to get into this, not just for the win, that helps, but it's just the players buying into what you want them to do, and it's not just for you, it's for them because they enjoy that game, but they enjoyed it more because they knew they had to fight for it. And they enjoyed it more because they knew that they had to perform to their best ability to beat a really good team. And also, everyone else helped out as well. Everyone did their bit to do what they can to help the team win and to get a result. And yeah, that's a very proud moment for a coach because what more can you ask for your players and give you everything they got, and they did.
Yeah, that was a really special game. Yeah, really, really special. So, how does things move on from there?
Yeah, so I guess this is the natural endpoint really for my time as a coach. Obviously, off that natural high there, I couldn't get any higher than that, so I had to step away. No, so I guess with most things, I mentioned earlier that I was working full time pretty much throughout my time as a youth football coach. I changed roles in that time in my own life in a new role, and I was a bit concerned really because I guess from my perspective, like I said earlier about commitment was really key for me when I first started coaching, and I was scared that I would be able to get out of work at certain times, would able to commute there on time. So I kind of talked potentially about doing something else with the vice chairman and the chairman of the club. But on top of what I was currently doing as a coach, I was going to be coaching and also working more as a club secretary. So this will basically be me working more like to give it a bit of spin, like a technical director really. So I'll work with the coaches and support them, set up fixtures with the league, sign referees, also be like a reference point for anyone coming into the club to work with as well. But unfortunately, I felt as if I couldn't really commit my time anymore to coaching and supporting the club in that aspect. So, yeah, that's when our dream team ended, Danny, where you and I are no longer able to coach together anymore.
It was sad times, very sad, and I do genuinely. I said to obviously yourself, the club are obviously missing out on a good coach, but obviously your situation is your situation, and you've got to make best with what you got. But no, seriously, if you ever have that feeling to come back, then honestly do, because there's some players that will really benefit from you.
I leave with you,
Definitely.
Danny. That's a deal. We're a team now. Like my Brian can't Peter Taylor. we're
Oh, I love
inseparable now.
it. No, that's brilliant. And so, just briefly touching on your new role, how's it feel now, sort of taking that step back and being almost like an observer for some training sessions and a
Oh,
support for some coaches?
wow, it is really different. I think you're just seeing because I see a lot of myself and a lot of the newer coaches. Is that enthusiasm and that enjoyment, but maybe not fully understanding, what's going on and having to learn from that. I used to give so much grief to the chairman and vice chairman before about referees not turning up and always having different things and fixtures coming in late. But I now know, obviously, work with different leagues, how challenging that part of it is because you don't get the information straight away. Referees cancel last minute. Pitches some get waterlogged, etc., etc. So it's that side of it. It's the part of it which has to go on in the background for a club to work. But you don't really see because you just see the sessions and the coach. You see the matches on the weekend, and then yeah, as I mentioned earlier, it's that kind of support. I've worked with you post our time together with the coach to work with your team to see how you're getting on. And obviously, you're doing a brilliant job. We've done the 17 boys, but
Thank you.
It's also the case, the coaches who come into the club and making sure that they have the right idea of what we're all about, what we're aiming to do, and making sure they just feel part of something special because we're a special football club. So that's my role now, but it's more about just giving back in that perspective. So no longer on the pitch, but behind the desk, but still involved.
Still involved, and we're very thankful for it. Looking back, as we now get to the real end of the podcast, looking back on your coaching journey, is there anything that you would have done differently?
Wow, that's a very
I know it's
question.
a very deep question.
Yeah, I love it though, because you get me thinking. My main regret, I think, and I've got to be honest with you, is that season before I worked with you, we had that difficult season with the players. I think I was far too lenient. So I think anyone who's coaching who's having difficulty with the discipline aspect of their team. So just by me discipline, I mean, turn up on time, be punctual, be respectful to the coach. Just not listening to what you have to say. So be honest with them. Talk to the parents. Talk to the players. Have a meeting with the group as a whole. I know as a club right now we're very big on team meetings, but I was too late in that regard. I didn't think of it back then. Do whatever you can to build a bond with your players and with the parents, and hopefully that will give you some leeway when you have to make difficult decisions, like leaving somebody out or play them in a different position, for example. So yeah, if I could do something differently, it would be how I approach that tricky fourth season really, and how I would cope with players who are disruptive and difficult to work with.
And if there was an aspiring coach listening in, hopefully there is, what would be your one bit of advice for someone who wants to become a youth coach?
It's never too late. I think I'm hopefully an example of a late developer really who got into the game, age of 30, very, very raw, but through learning and working hard and listening to people and taking good advice, managed to improve as a coach and develop as a coach and hopefully help some players within the club. So yeah, wherever your age, get involved. Find that your local club, speak to the coaches that are there, and then just give yourself a chance. Never say never. Always give yourself a chance.
Brilliant. Great words there. Thank you very much, Rob. That's brought us to the end of the podcast, would you believe? It's been a great conversation.
Yeah, thanks so much, Danny.
No problem at all. And how can anyone listening in follow you on social media if they want to follow your coaching journey? If it extends. No. They will. Trust me.
Thank you for asking. I got it wrong last time. So on your podcast, with your coaching philosophies, I mumbled this, so I'll do the best I can here. So I'm on Twitter, if anyone uses that medium for social media. And it's Bobby Manz, so it's BOBBYMANZ.
Perfect. And if someone who was listening in wanted to join Kinja, how can they go about finding the club?
It's a great question, Danny. So anyone listening who has a friend, relative, we have 7 different age groups from under 8 and under 9, all the way to adults football, men, women, boys and girls. So please get involved and contact us. The website is kinjafc.co.uk, and all the information will be available from there as Kinja. It's KINJA.
Yeah, great stuff. And if someone's a coach as well, please, if you're interested in coaching, please visit the website as well. I'm pretty sure there's something on the website for applying to get in touch.
Yes, well said, Danny. Yeah, if this coaching journey has inspired you in any way, and you think about getting involved,
I'm sure it has.
Yeah. Then please email us and get in touch. We're happy to hear from you.
Brilliant, Rob. As always, it's an absolute pleasure. As I say, thank you for giving up your time, and I appreciate you sharing your amazing coaching journey with everyone listening in. So thank you for that.
Thanks for having me, Danny. Stay safe, everyone. Stay well.
No problem. Just before the end, just a quick little plug. As I was speaking to Rob off air, trying to get the podcast on Spotify and iTunes. So hopefully by the time this podcast is up, we have got the podcast on Spotify. So keep an eye out for that. Hopefully within the post or on this YouTube video, or if you're listening on Spotify, well done, fantastic, you're already there. There'll be a link so that you can listen to it as well. And if you wish to follow me on social media, it's on Twitter at Danny Cook 1996, and obviously Halftime Cuppa at halftime_Cuppa. And until next time, as Rob has alluded to, stay safe, enjoy the lockdown period, and hope to see you guys in another podcast very, very soon. Take care.
Bye, folks.